Hi, my name is Sanaz, and today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about conditions in Java. Let's do an example with an if statement. So we're going to start off by declaring our variables. I'm going to set A to 2, and I'm going to set B to 0. Okay, now it's time for our if statement. So I'm going to write if, and in these circle brackets, I'm going to write my condition. So let's choose A and compare it to 2. I'm going to end with these curly brackets. Now in here is the code I will put. If this condition is true, the code in here will run. So let's decide to change the value for B and make it 3. Let's print the value. All right, now we're going to see what the value of B is going to be when we run this program. Oh, look at that. The value for B is 3. It is 3 because A does in fact equal to 2, as we have said it earlier. What if I were to change the value for A and I make it 4, for example? If I run this program, my value for B will be 0, and that is because A does not equal to 2. So it's going to skip this code and go straight to printing out B. Now you might be wondering why I put 2 equal signs over here and only 1 over here and here. Well, these 2 equal signs are called a relational operator, which means it compares one thing to another. The 1 equal sign, on the other hand, assigns a value to a variable rather than comparing. Other relational operators include the less than sign, less than or equal sign, greater than sign, greater than or equal sign, and the not equal sign. Let's use these operators with if-else statements. We are now going to write a program called budget and expense. Now this is a real-life problem that can be solved using an if-else statement. So before we do anything else, we are going to define our variables. So I'm going to say double budget, and let's set that to 50. And then we're going to have double expenses, and let that also be 50. Now we're going to write our if-else statement. So using the relational operators we learned about, we can write our condition. Let's say if budget is greater than or equal to expenses, then we can print out you met your budget. Else, meaning if this is not true, we can print out you did not meet your budget. Let's see what happens if we run this code. Would you look at that? We met our budget. And that is because the value set for budget is 50, and the value set for expenses is also 50. 50 is equal to 50, and so this condition is true, and this code will run. Let's say we change the value for budget and make it 30. Now it says you did not meet your budget. And that is because this condition is false. Budget is actually much lower than expenses. And so the else statement is here for which this code will run. So to recap, we learned about if statements and if-else statements. There are 2 more, nested if statements and switch statements. But before we move on, let's take a quick look at compound Boolean expressions. So the logical AND symbol looks like this. And it basically means that 2 or more conditions which are connected through these symbols must all be true in order to proceed with the code within the statement. The logical OR symbol looks like this. And it basically means that between 2 or more conditions, at least one has to be true in order to execute the code within the statement. And lastly, the logical NOT symbol looks like this. And this simply means that if the condition is not true, execute the code within the statement. Let's do some examples with nested if statements, but this time we're going to use strings. Instead of assigning a string at the beginning of the code, let's input one. So I already have the code set up since it's a little bit long, but we can walk through it. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3 possible actions, and we are going to input an action that we did to help protect ourselves against COVID-19. So this first condition, if the action that you input is equal to mask, which is the string I wore a mask, then it will print out this code. If your action was wash hands, then it will print out this code. And if it was social distance, it will print out this code. If it was neither, the code will simply be I don't understand. Let's try this. So let's say my action is I washed my hands. Now it is going to see if this condition is true, but it is not. This action does not equal this string for mask, so it will skip it. And it will move on to this if statement. Is your action equal to wash hands? Yeah, it is. So this is a statement that will be printed. Let's do an example where I write something that applies to neither of these. Let's say I went to a party. This is false because your action does not equal to wearing a mask, so it will skip it. You did not wash your hands, so it will skip it. You did not social distance either because you went to a party. It'll skip it. And it'll go straight to I don't understand. Using switch statements are a little bit different than using if statements and if else statements. So over here, again, I've written the code beforehand, but what we're going to do is we're going to have a variable called seasons, which is a string, and we're going to be inputting it into this program. Here is my switch statement. So the switch statement is for the variable seasons, which makes sense. And instead of having if something is equal to something else or comparing two variables, we're going to be writing the word case. So in the case that we input summer, these will be our favorite Starbucks drinks for the season. Then we are going to break out of this switch statement. In the case of winter, these will be our favorite Starbucks drinks. Then for spring, these will be our favorite Starbucks drinks. Now we do have to take into account that people might say either fall or autumn. So I do have two cases for this, and we will be inputting the exact, so it'll output the exact same types of drinks. Let's run this program and see what happens when we input summer. Ooh, the matcha green tea cream frappuccino does seem delicious. What about if we input something that is not a season, our default? It is going to give us an error and say that it is not a season. Remember that we do have to start off with a curly bracket and end off with a curly bracket, and use the word case instead of if. That is the only difference. And that's it. I hope you have a clearer understanding of conditions and how they are important when coding and their real-world applications. Bye!